Greetings and salutations, old friends, and hopefully some new friends. We have been covering the tragic suicide of well known UFO uh, researcher, lecturer, and illustrator Mark McCandlish. Uh, if you're unfamiliar with Mark McCandlish's story, please see our two previous shows where we give a synopsis of some of his accomplishments in the UFO community and information that he brought forward. I intended to do a part three to this story once the coroner's report arrived in my email, but I'm told it likely won't be there until early next week. Now, the major problem that I have, or the major reason that I decided to do this series of stories was because I had been noticing that some internet vultures have been literally circling a dead man's corpse and feeding off of it. This is despicable. It's deplorable. And I don't know what to say about a person who would take the tragic suicide of a man and then go on the internet and make up fake stories. But that's exactly what people are doing. Near as I can tell, the person who is the originator of these fake stories is Robert Morningstar, who is also a UFO researcher, I don't know, remote viewer, psychic guy. Yeah, I'm sorry, I'm getting a notice that there's no Twitch stream for some reason, and that may be an issue with Twitch. So for now, you guys, if you do usually watch us on Twitch, please come over to the YouTube channel. Just search Truthseekers in the YouTube search bar and look for that guy with the funny sunglasses. That would be me, Stephen Cambion, your host. So, Robert Morningstar, I believe, is the root of all of this. I'm going to call it evil. Robert Morningstar is the root of all of these stories circulating about the tragic suicide of Mark McCandlish. And we're going to explore this a little more fully. The reason that I decided to jump on here and do a part three to this story so fast is two reasons. First, I found out that a lot more people are spreading this false information that I believe originates with Robert Morningstar. And I mean people with huge followings like Kerry Cassidy and Jordan Sather, others, are simply taking the things that Robert Morningstar said and repeating them. It's important to note that all of the things that Robert Morningstar is saying were easily disprovable with some phone calls to the right places, which I have done in the past week. And we'll do a recap of the information that I found that completely destroys the fake stories that Robert Morningstar is running around conspiracy land peddling. And I just want to say to Mr. Morningstar, didn't I read in your bio that you're a psychologist? Right? So you should understand feelings and emotions and people's mental state and the way people feel. I would think, studying psychology, you would be well informed on that. How do you think the surviving friends and family of Mr. McCandlish feel about you going on the internet and telling complete and total absolute lies about him and his tragic suicide? You think that makes them feel good? Mr. Psychologist, you're a psychologist? What kind of psychologist goes on the internet and makes up fake stories about a man who recently committed suicide? For what? For what purpose? I can't even tell if he's doing it to make money. I don't believe that his blog is monetized, but Kerry Cassidy is certainly making money from the story. Jordan Sather is certainly making money from repeating the stories. And everybody's basically just repeating the lies that Robert Morningstar started. Nobody fact checks anything. They just go, well, Robert Morningstar said that he was murdered by the deep state, and Kerry Cassidy adds in, it was black magicians and the dark cabal that killed him. I just simply cannot believe this is even happening. I can't believe that people are this despicable, right? Every once in a while, I hear a story about good people and it restores my faith in humanity. Then I come across a story like this, and that faith in humanity gets shattered once again when I realize, what could be worse than telling fake stories about a man who just committed suicide so that you can make money peddling your red pill nonsense. Well, I just want to make sure I recognize Ellen Fox and thank her for a kind and generous super chat of $4.99. And you too can super chat. There's a money symbol down there in the live chat in YouTube. So if you would like to contribute and help me create more content like this, that is probably right now the best way to do so. Yeah. So Kerry Cassidy, we're going to share her first because, you know, we already knew that Kerry Cassidy is a nutter, but now we know she's a despicable nutter, right? There are people that are just so crazy into conspiracy stuff, but they're harmless. And then there are people like Kerry Cassidy who actually harm people, like the surviving friends and family of Mr. McCandlish, by peddling nonsense, absolute garbage. All the information that she is sharing with people is fake when it comes to Mark McCandlish's tragic suicide. And I can prove it. I also wanted to mention that the hallmark of a good researcher is that anyone can go behind that researcher, check his sources, and get the same results. I have kept very careful track of every single person that I have spoken with throughout this investigation. And I believe that anyone, I'll give you the phone numbers, I'll give you the names of who I talked to at each office. I believe that anyone could go after me and verify that everything I'm reporting on Mark McCandlish's tragic suicide is 100% factually correct. And Jessica Hill with a kind and generous $2.99 super chat saying, thank you for your time, Stephen. No, thank you for your kindness, your generosity, and your support. And thank you for coming here and spending some time with us. So what we're going to do is first, Kerry Cassidy writes this big article. And I'm gonna cite fair use. So let me put up my fair use banner. Occasionally we share items from the public domain. This is a public website, Kerry Cassidy's Project Camelot website, but we're still going to cite fair use. I hear she likes to strike people or, you know, whatever that disagree with her. And how could you not disagree with her after I show you what I have to show you tonight? 1 second, friends. Okay, so we're going to cite her website, Citing Fair Use. This is a transformative work. We're educating the public and critiquing the article. It's an article, not a video. Usually we're sharing videos. We're going to share a video of hers too, where Daniel Morningstar is lying through his teeth about Mark McCandlish's death, and I can prove it. And I have that evidence, and we'll present it a little further into the show. So, yeah, so this is fair use. We're going to share, let's see. I'm trying to, I have two of her tabs up, so I got to make sure, well, it doesn't really matter. We'll, okay. All right. So here is from her website, and this is the headline. UFO whistleblower killed after offering to testify to the Senate and Marco Rubio. And again here, she is repeating information from Robert Morningstar. I believe he's the root of all of this disinformation, fake information, and fairy tales surrounding Mr. McCandlish's tragic death. Breaking news. This was posted on May 21st. According to a key source, Mark McCandlish offered to give testimony to the Senate Intelligence Committee and contacted Marco Rubio on this just prior to his death. His potential testimony, along with his obsession with building the ARV, probably got him killed. Well, now she's saying probably got him killed when the headline reads that he was killed, just as it got Gordon Novell killed. And James Allen, the director of the film 0 Point, all about Mark McCandlish. There's no substantial supportive evidence or proof that James Allen was murdered. That is another conspiracy land fairy tale. His cause of death was cancer. There is no distraction or disclosure dog and pony show. This is also, she's a big supporter of Trump. This is also about the Trump card that Trump is holding. his ties to Nikola Tesla. Why do all UFO scammers got to bring up Nikola Tesla? You know, you want to be a UFO scammer? Throw Nikola Tesla in there. And this is all about bringing zero-point energy to the public and the battle to keep it quiet. All right, so here's the first huge lie. Well, the first huge lie is right in the headline, Kerry Cassidy. UFO whistleblower killed after offering to testify to the Senate and Marco Rubio. UFO whistleblower killed. That's the first big lie. The second big lie is the rest of your headline. After offering to testify to the Senate and Marco Rubio. That is factually inaccurate. That is a complete and total fabrication and a lie, and I have proof. For the past week, well, actually, since this article, since the 21st. So, yeah, I guess since last Friday, I have been anxiously and busily trying to contact Marco Rubio's office and get an on-the-record comment. I was really disappointed. I didn't get the information that I need that would either prove or disprove this claim that he offered to testify before the Senate and Marco Rubio. But earlier today, I finally got a contact from Mr. Rubio's office in Washington, D.C., someone responsible for responding to press and media inquiries, called me back kindly. I explained to her what the situation was. The people in conspiracy land are saying that this man was murdered after he agreed to testify to the Senate and Marco Rubio. And interestingly, she was very interested in the story. She found the story intriguing. She said, wow, this is interesting. So what do you want me to do? And I said, well, I'd like you to check if Mark McCandlish ever contacted the office of Marco Rubio, ever offered to testify. Is there anything on Mr. Rubio's schedule, meetings with Mark McCandlish or anybody regarding Mark McCandlish? Is there any mention of Mark McCandlish anywhere? And she said that she would check. Several hours ago, got back to me. See, here's what these amateurs that make up fake stories on the internet don't know. If you call a senator's office for anything, there's call logs. They ask who's calling, what is the purpose of your call, and they keep those records. There is no, I'm going to say it again, there is zero evidence, according to Marco Rubio's office, that Mark McCandlish ever contacted them. Not by email, not by phone, not by written snail mail letter. Zero. There's been zero communication from Mark McCandlish to Marco Rubio's office. I drilled down again and I said, how sure are you about this? And she said, well, I could check with all the satellite offices that he has in Florida too, just to be sure. And I said, I hate to bother you, but could you please do that? So this media representative of Marco Rubio's went and checked all the records for every office he has. There is no record of Marco Rubio ever having called, written, or contacted Marco Rubio's office, any of them. There is zero record of Senator Rubio ever having a scheduled meeting or any of this Senate hearing talk is fabricated nonsense. It's just made up. It's fairy tales, just like the rest of what Kerry Cassidy talks about. You know, secret moon bases and, elite cabal pedophile rings and pizza stuff. I don't even want to say the full word. She's just not credible. And, she peddles garbage, fake information. And it's easily disprovable. So there we have it. Mark McCandlish never contacted Marco Rubio's office. Never. And all these people are saying this. UFO whistleblower killed after offering to testify to the Senate Intelligence Committee and Marco Rubio. Next, I contacted the Senate Intelligence Committee in Washington, D.C. and got an on-the-record statement that they had nothing in their schedule, no record. They don't know who Mark McCandlish even is. So offering to testify to the Senate Intelligence Committee, it's news to them. Offering to testify to Marco Rubio, it's news to Mr. Rubio. There's no records of any of this. And there would be if this was scheduled. There would be if Mr. McCandlish had contacted Marco Rubio or the Senate Intelligence Committee or anyone in the Senate. So this, according to a key source, Kerry, who's your key source? Is it like the other sources you use? You know, like court-martialed child molesters or senile old men or homeless people? Is that the key source? Or is the key source Robert Morningstar the only person that's saying this stuff and the originator of these lies? According to a key source, he offered to give testimony to the Senate Intelligence Committee and contacted Marco Rubio on this just prior to his death. No, he did not. He never contacted Mark Rubio's office. Now, we get on to the next huge lie, which is in this paragraph here. According to a source, the Reading City Coroner said that there are 5 different agencies looking into the death of Mark McCandlish. First of all, sloppy, way sloppy. There is no Reading City Coroner. There's no Reading City Coroner at all. Anything in Reading City is handled by Shasta County. And that is a place that I've gotten friendly with someone there, a great source, who gave us the information before in our previous shows. So Kerry Cassidy is saying that according to a source at the Reading City Coroner, said that there are 5 different agencies looking into the death of Mark McCandlish. So what did I do? I called back the Shasta County Coroner's Office, to the source I spoke with last week and yesterday, and read this to them, sent it to them. And they said, first of all, there's no Reading City Coroner. All deaths in Reading City are handled by us, Shasta County Coroner, because it's in Shasta County. And secondly, the big problem is nobody from their office told anybody that there were any federal agencies investigating us. Nobody said that. She was very clear. I drilled down. I said, well, like how many people were there? Could somebody have talked to somebody and you're not aware of it? And she basically said, and I quote, I run this entire office. I would know. Nobody called here. Nobody called here asking any questions about Mark McCandlish's death except you, Stephen. So these people are even lying. Nobody contacted the county coroner's office except me. Nobody contacted them about Mark McCandlish's death except me. So nobody from the county coroner's office told anybody that 5 federal authorities were investigating this. In fact, we heard yesterday that they said there is no federal authorities investigating Mark McCandlish's death, because if they were, their first step would be to contact that office and ask for all the records. No one has done this. Kerry Cassidy goes on to say, judging from the past history of intel agencies and suicide of victims, it is highly likely that at least one of these agencies is right now working hard to come up with a feasible set of lies to convince the general public that Mark was killed by some lone gunman, contrary to the typical cabal-style hit job that the signs indicate. This is ridiculous because, first of all, did you call the coroner's office? Did you call the police? Because I did. What was the cause of death? It was a handgun shot to the head. Kerry Cassidy also repeated the lie that Mark McCandlish was killed by a shotgun blast to the head. That is factually an accurate statement. It never happened. According to the investigating officer, I spoke with the county coroner. Both confirmed he was killed by a single gunshot wound to the head with a handgun. Also of note is that he left a handwritten suicide note. So for Kerry Cassidy to be out here on the internet claiming he was murdered is ridiculous. And, I'm sorry that we even have to cover this, but I feel like somebody's got to set this record straight. This man is deceased. And I feel like nobody's standing up for him and saying, hey, can you let him rest in peace? This was a tragedy. Can he not try to make money off of a corpse? Because that's what these people are doing. You're trying to profit off of a dead man's tragedy. Great. You're a great human being, Kerry Cassidy. Love and Light, right? Yeah. There is no documentation, according to my knowledge. This information is from a key source, and it is based on what Mark McCandlish told him. Show us the source. Your fake anonymous sources don't count, Kerry Cassidy. Yeah. So we're going to stop that. I have a video, which is even more telling, because in the video, Robert Morningstar makes more totally, completely ridiculous claims. He makes totally ridiculous claims and lies. He lies right through his teeth, and I can prove it. I have the facts in hand. I have the evidence. I've spoken to everyone I could. I followed down every lead on this case I could. And then I developed new leads and followed those down. Today I was contacted by two separate sources. One, a business associate of Mark McCandlish and friend, who told me that Mark McCandlish was going through major bad financial problems. He was unable to make a living for the past year or two. And this led him to be incredibly down and depressed. This source told me that not only was Mark McCandlish suffering from major financial failures and unable to earn a living, he was also suffering from depression for some time. This person said at least 6 months before his death. But we've already cited fair use. So I'm going to say fair use again as we're going to share this video. I'm not sure how well this is going to work, because this video is on her website, since she's thrown off of YouTube for medical disinformation and other offenses. I thought when she got thrown off of YouTube, it would be the end of her being able to hurt people with her fake stories and lies, but apparently not. Apparently not. The Mysterious Death of Mark McCandlish tribute show with Robert Morningstar. Yeah. Hey, Miss Cassidy, don't you think a more fitting tribute to Mr. McCandlish would be to not go on the internet and lie and make up fake facts and run with rumors and ridiculous speculation that he was killed by dark magicians and the deep state? Wouldn't that be a better tribute? Maybe he could have just went on to a video and thanked him for his contribution, talked about how sad it was that he shot himself, killed himself. Wouldn't that be a better tribute than going on the internet and making up lies about him that his friends and family and colleagues and people that cared about him now have to hear about? Wouldn't that be a better tribute? But let's get into her tribute show. Tribute. So this is Robert Morningstar. Oh, wait a second, friends. I almost did it again. I always forget to share the audio. 5 minutes later, somebody will say, I'll notice in the live chat. Yeah. So, all right, we're going to cite fair use. This is Kerry Cassidy's video, The Mysterious Death of Mark McCandlish tribute show with Robert Morningstar. Yeah. And here's the source. And by the way, here's another Trump nutter. This guy's a Trump nutter, just like Kerry Cassidy, just letting you know, and a letter of the alphabet person too, I believe, just like Miss Cassidy. So that'll tell you the quality of the intelligence of these people. But we're gonna listen to this.
And so I've said that the killing of Mark McCandlish has the fingerprints, as you said, of the Illuminati. It was terrorism. It's a threat to all of us. And as I wrote to Dr. Joseph Farrell yesterday, I appreciate greatly that he took up this cause and supports our view that Mark McCandlish did not commit suicide. He was not capable of suicide, especially.
All right, and I just want to interject that Joseph P. Farrell did a complete and total 180 after our report yesterday. In fact, he even posted on his blog that he did a 180 based on my research, and he does not support Robert Morningstar. I don't believe that he supports Robert Morningstar's fairy tales any longer. I'm going to read what he wrote. Joseph P. Farrell said, I thought since I posted already about the death of ufologist Mark McCandlish that I wanted to post this very different view of things, which is very contrary to my previous blog. And I'm now inclined to take this gentleman's views seriously as opposed to my position in the previous blog. And kudos to him for going so in depth on this. This is important information if you're following the UFO subject and Mark McCandlish's sad death. And I think this man's presentation is persuasive, but whether you agree with him or not, I think people need to hear and see this argument. So, hey, thank you, Joseph P. Farrell. To his credit, he did a 180 and he posted our video of yesterday showing all the evidence and proof that Robert Morningstar is telling fairy tales and doesn't have any facts. He's making things up, and I can prove it. And what is with the quality? She goes to her own platform. It looks like 144p, but I don't know. So he's already said Robert Morningstar is here saying Mark McCandlish was murdered. He was killed. Let's see what else he has to say.
Especially in that manner, especially as we know, he was in contact with the Senate Intelligence Committee offering to testify in these hearings. And I believe that that was one of the reasons that he was, to use the word of a U.S. Air Force intelligence officer who is working with me, was sanitized.
Yeah, and we've proven that no, Mark McCandlish was not. He says earlier in the video that Mark McCandlish, contacted Mark Rubio's office and they were in talks. No, they weren't. And he says here that he was going to testify before the Senate Intelligence Committee. That's news to the Senate Intelligence Committee because nobody there ever even heard of Mark McCandlish. He's not on any schedule. There was no meeting notes. There was no information whatsoever on Mark McCandlish. He's just making this stuff up.
April 13th, Mark passed away. I didn't know about it until the weekend of the 16th and the 17th when Dr. Bruce Cornett wrote to me and he said, hey, is Mark McCandlish dead? And I said, what? So then I made the call on 15, 16, 17. On the 18th of April, I called the police department in Redding, California, and they were very evasive. They didn't say much. They said the investigation is not complete. You'll have to talk to the coroner's office. I can't give you any information. And
just a note to Mr. Morningstar, it's usually police policy to not comment on an ongoing investigation. So maybe you should have called back, because when I called them, and again, they said, the person I talked to said, oh, nobody called about this case except for you. So we don't even know that he actually called them. Maybe he did. The police there don't recall that he called on this date that he mentions. But the police officers that I spoke with said that I was the only person inquiring about Mark McCandlish's death. No one else had called. No one else had written. Nobody else had emailed and asked for any information about Mark McCandlish's death.
And then I said to the police officer, I said, would you make a note that Robert Morningstar, reporter at Revolution Radio in New York City, made an inquiry and that I would be calling back? And the police officer said, no, sir, we don't do that. I said, what? He said, you? What? We don't log the calls. I said, you don't log calls to the police department? And that was the first time in my life that I had ever heard any police officer tell me that they don't log telephone calls coming into their department. And there's no...
this is him covering his tracks in case anybody says he never called them. And I'm here to tell you, he never called them.
Other department that I know of, or military base, that does not log every telephone and call and inquiry that comes in. So,
yeah, kind of like Marco Rubio's office. You said that Mark McCandlish was in communication with Marco Rubio. They log every call and every communication, and there's no record of Mark McCandlish ever contacting Marco Rubio's office. None of his offices.
Subsequently, I called the coroner's office, and they told me then, again, that was the next day. I called, after the police department, I called them at the coroner's office.
And again, the person that I talked to at the county coroner's office told me that no one else called about the case except for me.
And they said to me, the autopsy has not been completed. I said, oh. She said, we think it might be completed next week. That would have been 2 weeks after his passing. And again, they told me that I could write and ask for a copy of the death certificate and the coroner's report. But when I followed up, it said that only members of the family can get that information.
No, that is completely and totally factually inaccurate. A coroner's report is a public document, Robert Morningstar. He just called himself a journalist or a reporter. You don't know that a coroner's report and a death certificate is public records? Anybody can get them. You're lying here again.
And so that blocked me out.
And by the way, I emailed the county coroner's office, and I will be getting a copy of the coroner's report and death certificate because they're public records and I can request them as a citizen journalist, and I did so. And the kind person that I'm speaking to at the county coroner's office there promised to send it to me. I'm on the list to get it as soon as the report is complete. I talked to her today. They're waiting on a lieutenant at the police department who has to sign the reports, but the reports are completed. I should be getting it early next week.
I think it's important to tell you that Mark was very well aware of how dangerous it was to be involved in whistleblowing, not just on UFOs, but the SSP, the secret space program. And this came about as his having received death threats from certain groups when he was working on the ARV. That was one. But recently, as a matter of fact, just last night, I received long communication that he had with a friend in Europe. I'm not going to identify the friend, just to say that
anonymous
I
source,
appreciate
because it doesn't
what
exist.
they shared with me. And what they shared with me was what Mark would have told the the Senate Intelligence Committee had he been allowed to testify. Another thing that I was told and asked to do was to investigate the death of a friend of Mark McCandlish who went by two names, William White Crow and Bill Paris. And I was unfamiliar with this. So she followed up and shared with me that Mark had mentioned to her that two of his sources in acquiring the knowledge that he was sharing with the public had perished a month apart in 2018.
Again, let's weave some other deaths, which may have been natural causes, we don't know, into this fake story narrative that he's weaving here.
And one of them.
And this, of course, comes from an anonymous source that he won't name. I have the names of all my sources, Mr. Morningstar. Where are the names of your sources? Let's compare notes. But I don't think you're smart enough to do this with me, Mr. Morningstar. I think you truly miscalculated that somebody else might investigate the death and do it the right way, the way that I've done it here, with on the record, verifiable, verified real sources.
Bill Paris had been hung, died by hanging. But it was no ordinary hanging. He was hung with a dog leash, and his feet could barely touch the ground, indicating to Mark that the man had been tortured. And a month later, another friend of his met an untimely end.
And isn't it convenient that this man, Mark McCandlish's death, means that nobody can ask Mark McCandlish if he told this guy, Robert Morningstar, any of this?
Mark is very courageous. He knew how dangerous this field is, but as a true, upstanding American who believed in truth, justice, and the American way, he was willing to risk his life, and he did, and he paid for it. But I believe, as I told Rick and our friend in Europe,
good point,
this
AJ.
was Mark's legacy.
Excellent point.
And the best way to honor him and as well to protect everyone else who's involved is to get the information out to the public that the Illuminati, the Cabal, the New World Order, or the New World Order, as I like to call it, has been trying to quash, and to tell them, you may kill the person, but you cannot kill the truth. You cannot kill the information. The information is out. We know it. And as far as disclosure is concerned, Albert Lambermont Weber says, we are the disclosure. And I've said for years, I'm not going to believe anything that this government says.
Okay, so you're just so basically what Mr. Morningstar is saying is that there's a grand conspiracy here, and all these different agencies are cooperating to cover this up. The Redding, California Police Department, the Shasta County Coroner's Office, Senator Mark Rubio's office, the Senate Intelligence Committee, the FBI, the CIA, the DEA, and the ATF are all lying. But Robert Morningstar, with his fake anonymous sources and stories that he's telling you a dead man told him that no one can verify, he's the guy telling the truth. It makes no logical sense that anybody would believe this man based on the mountain of evidence I've been able to find and uncover that Mark McCandlish's death, though tragic, was an open and shut case of self-inflicted suicide.
Because this government is still saying that Lee Harvey Oswald killed President Kennedy and that Sirhan killed Robert Kennedy. How can you believe anything when such a big lie still stands? So it's a house of cards.
And I'd be the first person to say that I don't trust a lot of what the government says. However, I find the likelihood of some grand conspiracy here with all these different agencies and governmental organizations and police departments and coroner's office and senator's office and Senate. I find the likelihood that they're all, cooperating and lying together very, very unlikely.
That is about to fall, right? That last card, that last lie, when it's placed on top, the whole thing is going to fall.
Yeah, your whole lie narrative is hand in it. Because how dare you go on the internet and just straight make up fake facts, invent this entire story for what? Are you making money off of this? Why would you do that? Is it a little bit of spotlight you want it? Let's get on Kerry Cassidy's show. She's got a big following. Let me email Joseph P. Farrell this bunch of fairy tales, and he'll amplify the story, and I'll get mentioned, and people will hear about me. If that's why you did this, you're a despicable piece of human filth and trash.
But it's not going to fall if we're afraid, if we cower in silence. And so today, I thank you, Kerry, for inviting us to be here, because we're going to share what Mark McCandlish wanted the world to know. And I think that the most important thing that the secret government, as Bill Cooper used to call it, and call it rightly, is that the secret space program has broken through to a technology that involves time travel. UFOs are
great.
not propelled.
Yeah, that's what Mark McCandlish wanted the world to know about. He was going to tell the world that the government has top secret time travel technology. Great. Wow, great, Robert Morningstar.
By anti-gravity. They are time machines. And that is the biggest secret that Mark McCandlish had and was ready to reveal. And he also believed that the government is about to try to foist a fake alien invasion on all.
No, Stephen Greer believes that. Mark McCandlish didn't believe that, not to my knowledge. But okay, can't verify anything. The man is deceased. Nobody can ask him if he believed that. So you can say whatever you want to say. You can say that he believed that he was an alien right now, and nobody can verify whether he said that or not.
All of us, again, to unite the world, right? Their idea of uniting the world is to enslaving everyone to one single purpose.
All right, you know what? I think I've had just enough of this guy. I am disappointed in humanity today. I just can't believe that somebody would make up complete and totally fabricated lies about a man who just committed suicide. So for what? So he could get some time in the UFO world spotlight telling these fake stories with Kerry Cassidy and others? Why? There's more in that video that is absolutely ridiculous. It gets more ridiculous as it goes on. You can find it on Kerry Cassidy's website if you want to watch the entire thing. I don't recommend it. It's a waste. It's fairy tales. It's a complete and total waste of time. But I did notice another person with a huge following repeating these lies. And again, we're going to cite fair use, because that is, let's see if I can find it here. Yeah, this is Jordan Sather, who, look, regardless of what I think of Jordan Sather, he's got a huge following. He has a responsibility to at least fact check things before he runs with a story. And I suppose he, like Joseph Farrell, didn't fact check anything. He just repeated what he'd heard. So there's that. Was UFO, and by the way, I don't know if it's still here. Yeah, I wrote a comment on this and said, Jordan, you really should have fact checked things before you ran with this story. Using people like Kerry Cassidy as a source is never a good idea. The real story is here. Skip the first half hour if you know about Mark's ARV story. But yeah. Yeah, I'm surprised to see that getting thrown out off of YouTube hasn't ended Jordan Sather. Good for him. He's still in there swinging, trying to make it as a content creator, but now he's in the ghetto. He's on BitChute. That's where he's, well, actually, he gets more views than me on BitChute. He gets more views on BitChute than I get on YouTube. So maybe I shouldn't be talking smack. But here we have another big influencer in the conspiracy land, space, that is just repeating this stuff from Robert Morningstar and Kerry Cassidy, all these lies.
So this is a video that I don't really want to do, but I do want to do it because I want to pay homage to this individual who passed away. But not just that, I feel like I need to shed some light about the circumstances, the information we're learning about how this individual passed away.
No, you didn't learn anything. You're parroting what you heard on Robert Morningstar's blog. And wouldn't a better tribute to Mark McCandlish have been if you had fact-checked this before running with the story and getting 5,000 views with it?
So we're going to talk here about Mark McCandlish. If you're not familiar about Mark McCandlish, he has been in the so-called, I guess you could say, UFO community for quite a few years. And he really came to prominence with some incredibly intricate illustrations that he designed of what he thought was a reverse engineered anti-gravity craft secretly in the possession of the United States government or corporate contractors, the military industrial complex, you could call it. Mark McCandlish used to be a very accomplished illustrator in the aerospace world, working for companies like Lockheed and other defense contractors, designing for them. Now, in the 1990s, he began hearing some stories, researching for himself, starting to kind of peer past the illusion, and began to figure out that there are black projects that exist with a whole lot of money funneled into them, and they've researched and developed some pretty incredible things that they are keeping from the world. So that's why Mark McCandlish started using his talents to design what he believed to be these reverse engineered craft, and also began speaking out about it, going to conferences and events and doing interviews. And there was a documentary that he was mainly featured in as well about him and his story. It was called The Flux Liner, the story of Mark McCandlish. So he was very renowned. He was very accomplished. I had the opportunity to meet with him 3 years ago, and I interviewed him for the Above Majestic, the Implications of a Secret Space Program documentary. So
yeah, and I had no idea that Mark McCandlish was in Above Majestic. And now I got to watch Above Majestic. I don't know how. If somebody can give me the timestamp of when Mark McCandlish's interview is in that film, that would be very helpful, because I can't sit through an hour or two of David Wilcock and Corey Good waiting to see what Mark McCandlish had to say. I just can't do it.
So had the opportunity to interview him, speak to him. We remained in contact on occasion until his passing about a month and a half ago. This was news that shocked the truthing disclosure community. We found out that Mark McCandlish had died. He died on April 13th, I believe was the day. Now, in the few weeks after that, we didn't hear many details. Nobody really knew how it happened, why it happened, pertaining details. We just knew Mark McCandlish passed away. You might have seen in one of the videos that I filmed, I gave.
Yeah, and that's very true. But honestly, I called the week after he died and found out that the cause of death was most likely suicide. But I didn't publicize that. I wanted to wait until the coroner was finished their work and the police were finished with their investigation. Other people, when there was that void of information, just started making things up.
A tribute to him. That was a few weeks back, and a lot of other people started offering their condolences and public tributes as well. Very sad thing. Mark was a great guy. He wanted the truth to get out there. Once or twice that I did meet him and a few times that I talked to him, he was an awesome guy. And
that I can't believe I'm going to say this, but I agree with Jordan Sather. Stranger things have happened. I didn't know Mark as well as I would have liked to, but I believe he was just a good and a cool guy, a good person. And yes, wanted to get the truth out there to people.
I'm sure a lot of people agreed with me about that. Well,
that's funny. I just did, Jordan.
Here's the thing. This is where it gets really interesting. This is what I found out a few days ago. I found some posts, some public statements made by a few individuals. Number one being Dr. Joseph Farrell on his GizaDeathStar.com website. Kerry Cassidy from Project Camelot also made some public statements on her Telegram channel and on her website as well. So
yes, and Mr. Doctor, I apologize too. Somebody slagged me in the YouTube comments for not referring to Joseph P. Farrell as Dr. Farrell. I'm sorry. I think he's a doctor in theology. Not to take anything away from him, but I called him Mr. Farrell in our previous broadcast, and somebody took me to task for that. So I'll call him Dr. Farrell. I apologize if anybody's offended that I didn't use the term doctor when referring to him. He's since done a 180 on this. I believe so, based on his more recent blog post after the evidence that I presented on this case. So essentially, though, Jordan Sather just says, well, Joseph P. Farrell said this and Kerry Cassidy said this, so it must be true.
Since multiple people are coming out with this information and corroborating it, and also these folks,
Nobody corroborated anything, Jordan Sather. It was all the same information source, which is Robert Morningstar. He's the person that first said all this. And everybody else copied and pasted. And in the case of Kerry Cassidy not only copied and pasted the information from Robert Morningstar, which was all factually inaccurate and false, she also added her own twists and turns to the fairy tale narrative. And just because two sources are saying the same thing, don't mean both are true. Doesn't make something true. Two people can lie about something just as easily as one person can. Or, that's a mischaracterization. Let me say, two information sources can be false just as easily as one information source can be false. And two information sources saying the same thing does not mean they're both telling the truth. It just means they copy and paste it from the same BS made up story. This is a fairy tale created by Robert Morningstar that people copied and pasted and amplified and changed and added a few twists and turns to, like Kerry Cassidy saying that Mark McCandlish was killed by dark magicians and the cabal.
I don't think they would be putting out fake information like this, fake claims like this. So,
well, now we know that the claims are 100% factually inaccurate and fake, Jordan. We know that now. based on the research that I've done, which is maybe something that you should have done before you ran with the story. All you had to do, Jordan, was make a couple of phone calls like me. But you didn't do that. But don't worry, Jordan. I did it for you. I did the research for you, for Dr. Farrell, for Robert Morningstar, for Kerry Cassidy, and for anybody else that is going to continue to spread these false stories. I have the facts in hand, Mr. Sather, before putting my mouth in gear.
It looks like the information that's coming out about Mark McCandlish's death is legitimate. Okay. And that
No, it's not. It's completely, totally fake. And you fell for it. And you, with your huge platform, are now spreading fake, false, fake news. Congratulations, Jordan Sather.
that information is that we are being told by authorities, by the coroner's office in Shasta County, where Mark McCandlish lived. He lived in the Redding area. Apparently, the Shasta County's coroner's office is telling the public that Mark McCandlish died of, I'll finger quote this, suicide. And how he committed suicide was a shotgun blast to the head.
And again, the Shasta coroner's office never told anybody that Mark McCandlish killed himself with a shotgun blast to the head. Never. That didn't happen. And it didn't happen. He used a handgun. But again, no one inquired, according to my sources, to the Shasta coroner's office except for me.
Okay. That, as I'm sure you believe as well as I believe when we hear the stories of suicide, especially pertaining to individuals who either have information or are discussing information with the public that certain powerful interests out there don't want public. Suicide's a really weird cause of death. But that's what we're being told by Shasta County Coroner's Office. Along with that, it's coming out. Now, I don't know this, but apparently Mark McCandlish was going to testify to the Senate next month about UFOs or UAPs.
No, he wasn't. No, he wasn't. He wasn't scheduled to testify. He never contacted Mark Rubio's office. He didn't contact the Senate Intelligence Committee or any members of it. I was very thorough in my investigation, Mr. Sather. Maybe you should have made those phone calls before reporting this false information to your huge following, Mr. Truther.
If you want to call them that. Now, remember, and I'm sure you've seen this all across the media in the past few weeks, they've been talking about it ad nauseum, a lot of half-truths, in my opinion. But we're hearing that this UFO or UAP report is coming out from our government, specifically the Senate. The Senate Intelligence Committee actually requested this in the COVID funding bill. That was Marco Rubio that put it in there about 6 months ago. And the language that Marco Rubio added into this COVID relief bill stated that in 6 months, we are demanding the government or the Department of National Intelligence.
I think I've had enough of Mr. Sather, and I apologize. There is some other relevant bits in there where Mr. Sather kind of adds on to the fake story here about Mr. McCandlish's death. I think this is a learning moment. This is a teachable moment. Is that how you say that? And something very important that we can learn from this is just how fake conspiracy stories emerge from conspiracy land and then spread like wildfire. It's because nobody does any of the work. Any one of these people involved with spreading this false narrative and this fake information could have done what I did, but not one of them did. They just ran with the story. In the case of Miss Cassidy, I'm sure that she's gotten a member plan, and so she is basically selling this story, this fake story. Jay Roach says, Sather, get back to East Ranch with your lunatic cult leader, James Gilead. Yeah, I don't know. V says, nice to see you grew a neck beard, Sather. Matches your spirit. Matt Cadet says maybe because the truth is boring. Yeah, it kind of is boring, right? But it's definitely. Sorry about that. And let me see. Lee Veltman says MMS is bleach. Beta wanker. I'm being as nice as I can. Yes. So, but listen. I think that this story is an excellent teachable moment because this can be used as an example of how quickly a completely and totally fake, made up fake story spreads like wildfire throughout conspiracy land. Some of these people have huge followings. All of them. Well, maybe, no, not Morningstar. I have a bigger bullhorn than Robert Morningstar, which I was surprised to find out because I've seen him on probably 10 different television shows and documentaries talking about various woo. But most of the people involved here have a much bigger bullhorn than me. So the problem becomes, if enough people keep repeating a lie, does it become the truth? I hope not. And I got to say, that I feel terrible for the surviving friends, family, and relatives of Mr. McCandlish. And if I did anything to help this situation, I hope I did something to help this situation and ease the suffering of people. Listen, if somebody dies tragically like that, everybody that knew and cared about this man are suffering right now. And they don't need further suffering inflicted upon them in the form of fake, fraudulent, made up fairy tale conspiracy man stories by these people who either want money, fame, clicks, views, whatever. So I would invite everyone here, please, and really like and share this video. Share this video on your social media. This video will help dispel this fake story that's running around the interwebs right now. Just to repeat what I have already mentioned on a previous show, it's important to note that I spoke with the Redding, California Police Department. I spoke with the investigating officer that handled the case. I spoke with another officer who works directly under the chief of police there. I spoke with the Shasta coroner's office. I spoke with the FBI field office. I spoke with the FBI National Press Office in Washington, D.C. All of my sources are real, on the record sources. I've got names, dates when I talk to them, notes of what was discussed, quotes. My information is real. Robert Morningstar's is fake. He's got an anonymous source, and he's going to tell you something that a dead man said that nobody can verify or prove or disprove. I said in the beginning of the broadcast that really the mark of a good researcher is that anybody can go after me. And if anybody has any doubts, you can go and call all the same places that I did, and you're going to get the same information. And I want to thank Reemsy for a kind and generous $3 super sticker just purchased. Yeah, there's that money sign down at the bottom. If anybody would like to answer my super chat. Did you send one? I didn't see. J Roach, if you sent, hold on one second. Let me pardon me. I apologize if I missed one. And always feel free, guys. If I miss a super chat, oh yeah, you did. Jay Roach with a kind and generous $2.99 super chat. Australian. Hey, Jay Roach, I love Australia. I'm going to come down there, drink some Fosters, eat some shrimp, come visit you. Thank you for your kindness, your generosity, and your support of the show. And I apologize sincerely for missing that. And he says, Stephen, do you believe Mark's story? I found Mark to be very credible. I got an opportunity. I mentioned this previously. I got an opportunity to speak with him on the phone, and I spoke with him 6 or 7 times. Every few months, I would call him back and beg him for an interview. And this is over the past year and a half, maybe. Yeah, a year and a half. But at the time, Mr. McCandlish told me that he was having personal problems and he didn't want to be very public, but he would be happy to answer any of my questions, but not do a public interview. So I got to know him. I got to grill him. I grilled him. I asked him all kinds of things. Do I believe his story? I believe that he is telling the truth. However, a lot of his story rests on secondhand testimony of this Brad Sorensen, who he says is the person that saw this alien reproduction vehicle and told him about it. I want to interview him. Before I can tell you if I believe if the story is true, I want to interview this Brad Sorensen. I'm going to attempt to do that, and I will let you guys know what it is that actually, happened. If he agrees or doesn't agree, I will let you know either way. Jonaside says his family could they sue for slander? Yeah, they could sue for emotional distress. Of course, that's going to cause emotional distress to his family. So Robert Morningstar is supposed to be an educated person, right? He's a psychologist, right? And a pilot. Great. You're educated enough, Mr. Morningstar, to know that you're the source of all these fake stories. You could be sued for this, for emotional distress or whatever, slander. Yeah. Yeah, I don't have a problem with the grifters typically profiting by sensationalizing the tragic suicide of a peer is way over the line. Yeah, that is absolutely disgusting that a person would do that to make a few dollars or get a few clicks on YouTube. V says he left a note. I hope it gave the family comfort. The ripples of pain from a loved one's suicide never end. Yeah, I completely and totally agree with you. And I want to take the time to mention that if you are struggling with depression or feeling down, please don't do anything drastic. Call the suicide prevention hotline. There's other places that you could go to for help. Please find a mental health professional because they really can help you. We've had Reemsey yesterday mention that he's on medication for depression, and if he doesn't take his medication, he could get suicidal. So there are solutions that are not as drastic as, certainly not as drastic as suicide. If you are suffering, please reach out to someone you know and get the help that you need. 6 Cents says the family is probably drowning in disgust seeing all the lies associated with Mark's death. Yeah, and that's really what I've been thinking about while I've done this work. I decided that I would try to do what I could to bring people the actual and real truth behind this man's tragic death. I felt compelled to do this. And and I want to offer my condolences to his surviving friends, family, relatives, or anybody who cared about him. V, again reminding us that you can text 741-741 in the United States if you're feeling hopeless, and they will put you in touch with an ear to listen and help. Yeah, please do find help. Yeah, so, I started saying this, some of these people have much bigger bullhorn than me. So really on this video, I am going to ask everybody to copy the video address, share it on Twitter, share it on Facebook, share this video. Let's get the word out. Let's get the truth out there and try to combat this fake fairy tale story from Robert Morningstar, who is a vulture. From Kerry Cassidy, who is a vulture. From Jordan Sather, who is a vulture. Because you know what vultures do? They fly in and they live off of the dead. These people are vultures. Or they're behaving like vultures. So I'm going to dedicate my full and total attention now to the live chat. So if anybody has any comments or questions for me, please do put them in all caps. That really does help me. I'm somewhat visually impaired. Most of you know that. The caps help me know that the comment is for me. Wow, I did not know that, Matt. Gadet says the leading cause of death for men over 50 is suicide. Yeah, I mean, people get in some dark places and do drastic things. I pray for everybody that is affected by suicide because it is terrible. Reemsey says, absolutely. It's very important to take medicine if a professional advises that you need it. Yeah. Yeah. So, I think this whole situation is really sad. And it's made sadder by these vultures that are out there selling these fake stories. And Robert Morningstar, I would challenge you to come on my show. I'll show my sources if you show yours. You don't have any. You got an anonymous source that you won't name, and you got a dead man that nobody can ask, did he say that? It's just, Mr. Is it I'm not sure. I have to check his bio again, but Mr. Robert Morningstar is either a psychiatrist or a psychologist. He should know better than to do something like this and hurt the surviving friends, family, and relatives of Mark who are already suffering this terrible tragedy. Jonaside says, nice Star Wars shirt. In 77 it came out. Yeah, this is a good one. It's a Millennium Falcon. That's probably my favorite spaceship. Not a big fan, Jonaside, of the Disney trilogy. I think they really messed up. They should have given it to Jon Favreau, who did The Mandalorian, and then it would have been amazing, right? Jonas, Macadat is liking the shirt too. Yeah. Yeah, V says, how much lower can they possibly go? I agree with you. I think it's despicable what these people are doing, and Jay Roach says, tarot card reading, anyone? Oh, yeah. Sometimes the trolls get what they want, and we were gonna have Stephanie come on, but she has other things going on, and given the recent drama, we're not doing Tarot Card Tuesday again. But as I stated previously, I'll stop. We won't have tarot card readings anymore, and I guarantee you that the people that are online, the hateful, bitter, angry little people, bitter, jealous, angry little people who attacked me viciously for having the audacity to have a tarot card reader on my show and saying I sold out. All right, we're not going to have tarot card readers anymore. Is the beef over now? I'm not going to have tarot card readers. Of course it won't be. They're going to pick something new to talk crap about me about. And I'm okay with that. Good. Keep talking. There is another show. I think they're up to 8 or 9 streams talking about me now. 8 or 9. 8 or 9 times these guys said, well, we could do a real show, or we could just talk shit on Steve Cambion for an hour tonight. Yeah. Yeah, I don't want to confirm or deny that, V. She was very hesitant to come and do it again. We're going to talk it out. Maybe we'll have her come back in the future. That's what we talked about. She's very busy with some other stuff. And yeah. Antarasi says, absolutely, a bit of tarot to soothe the soul. You know what I was going to do? And I told a friend about this, because I'm, when somebody's being nasty to me, I kind of react with sarcasm. And this guy is losing his mind because I'm having a tarot card reader, right? So you know what I was going to do? I was going to get more. I was going to get more tarot card readers. We're going to do it every day, right? Just to jam it in his ass. Look, we have tarot cards every day. How about that? How about I have tarot cards every day and you can cry more? But I won't do that. We have other stories, important stories to cover. And honestly, I keep kicking the can on some stories because other things pop up, like this Mark McCandless story that are time sensitive, and I really need to do this. Lee Veltman says, yeah, that is messed up, and I'm staying out of the drama. I'm trying. I'm just trying to do my thing here. I'm just trying to do my thing. And I wish everybody the best, and I hope that some people get some mental health, because I think they need it. Having a breakdown, posting 65 messages on one YouTube video, sending me nasty emails, spending hours and hours of their lives talking about me on their stream. It is what it is, though. I understand this. Guys are just black and white. Like, it's black and white. You can't have tarot cards because that's woo. Okay. And by the way, we're not going to have tarot cards anymore. Do you think they're going to stop? I guarantee you that they're going to keep going with this. They're going to keep it up and keep it up. Right? So what is their argument now? That I'm not going to have tarot card readings. They're going to pick something else. They're going to pick something else to complain about me. This guest they don't like, or that guest they don't like, or whatever. They're not going to stop because I stop having tarot card readers. And by the way, I just want to make sure that everybody understands, if I wanted to have a tarot card reader tonight, I've got 2 other people I could have called. I just chose to table that for right now. Honestly, because I want to see if I stop having tarot card readers, are they going to shut up or are they going to keep talking smack? I'm pretty sure I know what's going to happen. They're going to pick something new, friends. They're going to pick something new, something else, some perceived grievance, right? Something I said, something I did. And, it is funny to me that people are literally lying through their teeth, because one of them said, I did not apologize for negative, nasty comments that I made about their audience. And yes, I did. It's right on my show. I can timestamp it for you. I said, I'm sorry. Yeah, it is what it is. They're going to say that tarot cards are real. Steph would have known about all this before it happened. Yeah, maybe said, no, I can't go on your show because some people are going to get butthurt if I come on your show and do tarot cards, and they're going to cry for 10 shows straight about what an asshole you are for having tarot card readers and how you're selling out. What Cambion without glasses? I'm not sure what that means. Who's going to want me without glasses? Yeah, and I finally, 6 cents, thank you. He's showing everybody where you can follow me on Twitter, and I finally did a copy and paste job. And now, oh, by the way, I just want to mention that we have a Discord server now, and the link to join the Discord server is in on my Twitter, but I'm going to get it and I'm going to share it in the live chat. So if you want to join us in the Discord server, that's going to be up 24/7. I thought it would be good because then, people from the live chat here who have come to socialize and know each other through the live chats will be able to communicate all the time, not just when I'm doing a live show. And I thought, a few people asked me for this. We hear and obey. We hear and obey our audience here. All right, so I've put the Discord server link in the live chat. If you don't have a Discord account, it's pretty quick and easy to sign up. And for those unaware, Discord just allows you to have voice and text chats, and it's pretty fun. I'm way late to the game of Discord servers. I used one while I was on the Fringe FM to communicate with the other show hosts and stuff like that. Wow, that's a boy coming from you. I'll take this as a high and mighty. Walter Bosley is here from the Walter Bosley channel. And I got to tell you, I'm a big fan of Mr. Walter Bosley, even though some other show host said he was a liar and wouldn't tell me what he lied about after I asked 6 times. Somebody's got a grudge at Mr. Bosley, and I'm sorry for that. And I'm sorry that if anybody said anything on my show while they were here, it's of course it's inaccurate, but I my apologies. And Walter Bosley says, basically caught up, excellent and necessary reporting, Stephen. And I take that as a huge compliment from somebody as accomplished and knowledgeable and as good a researcher as Mr. Walter Bosley. Thank you for your kindness. Walter Bosley says, I'm not worried. Yeah, I think, it is what it is. I don't really want to talk about those guys, Mr. Bosley. I'm going to focus on doing excellent work like this, because some people will never do excellent work like this, Mr. Bosley, and people recognize excellence, don't they? I do. If I see somebody that's doing amazing work, I know it. I recognize it, right? And cream rises. That's just what happens, It's just what happens. But we're happy to see Mr. Walter Bosley here. We're hoping to have him on a future episode of Truthseekers. I'd really like to do another. I don't know. We're going to do. I've got 100 topics that I'd love to pick the brain of Mr. Bosley about. but we're gonna do that sometime in the near future, I hope. And I'm really happy to say that Mr. Bosley's feeling much better, right, Mr. Bosley? And I'm real happy about that because I was praying for him, and a lot of people were, right? Yeah, I'm happy that he's up and about. He just flew on an airplane for the first time. I saw on his Facebook he's having new adventures. He's off on new adventures, like the secret agent he once was, right? All right, friends. So I'm going to ask you one final time to please do copy this specific video address and post this on your social media. Help me amplify this message and stop these people from telling their fairy tales about this man's tragic death. He deserved better than that. These people are calling things tributes while they're while nothing but lies is coming out of their mouths about his tragic death. That's not a tribute. That's a detriment to that man's memory. Yeah. So please do share this video on your social media. And I just want to say I'm going to try to do something new, and this is a preventative measure. In case I ever miss a super chat, this will cover me. Because what I'm going to do is I'm going to read the super chats again, right? At the end of the show, just so that I never miss one. So tonight's super chatters was Ellen Fox, said, thank you for your research. Jessica Hill said, thank you for your time, Stephen. And I said, no, thank you for yours, Jessica Hill. Jay Roach asked, Steve, do you believe Mark's story? And we answered that. And Reemsey, with a kind donation, purchasing a kitty cat super sticker. So thank you guys all for your kindness, your generosity, and support. I finally did it. All the links that you need to support the show are now in the description box. It's only taken me a year to get that done, right? The link to the new Discord server is in the description box. The link to how to follow me on Twitter, the link to how to support me on Patreon or donate by PayPal. It's all down there in the description box. Wow, Walter Bosley says, I think it's time for a personal inner bone to Jesus reckoning in the conspiracy community. Overdue. This McCandlish issue is the final straw. Yeah, I mean, Jonas side, I'm sorry. I'm gonna have slides, all right? I'm trying. I gotta make a presentation. I have a presentation actually to do. So I decided to kill two birds with one stone, but it's taken a little longer than I thought it was going to take. So I apologize. And I'll have your slides soon. Maybe I'll have them on the same night we have multiple camera angles, so I could be like, this one here, this one. I want to go to this camera, this camera, this camera. I'm going to have 17 cameras, Genocide. Yeah, Walter Bosley says, I think it's time for a personal come to Jesus reckoning. Yeah. And, I did say, like, I don't want to talk about the drama-rama anymore, but I do want to make one very important point, and that is it's never good to pit friends against friends, right? Make people take sides. So, I hope that anybody that has a problem with me will keep it with me. Don't try to turn people against me. Don't try to, turn friends against friends because you're upset with me or unhappy with me. Come to me. I don't care what you say, to me, but to spread falsehoods and, false information about me or try to turn people away from me or my show or turn people against me, it shows what kind of person that you are. I apologized, and I will say it again. Anything that I said about any other show host or their audience, I sincerely apologize for. Yeah, I said some things in anger, after 3 or 4 or 5 streams about me. So I apologize, and it's my hope and wish that neither me or any other show host will try to turn friends against each other or whatever. I certainly won't be doing that. I encourage you to watch whoever you want to watch, right? It's important, though, to recognize that if somebody's trying to turn you against a former friend, they may have motives. They may have a vendetta, whatever. But I think people largely will see and understand. I'm hopeful that they will. Yes. MK3 Mixes says there's too much drama in the UFO community. Yeah. And Walter Bosley says it's trolls meet cancel culture mentality. Absolutely. Andrew Whitley wants slides too. Are you all going to start asking for slides? Come on, man. Matt wants PowerPoint. I can't afford PowerPoint, man. I'm going to be using Google Slides. It's free. Matt, what is this? Is an amazing comment that I completely and totally agree with you. You remember when you were 6 years old, you could meet a new friend on the playground every day and make new friends. It was easy to find friends and easy, where I grew up, there was tons of kids in my neighborhood. Just on my block, there was 50 or 100 kids. So there was always a way to find friends and people to play with, hang out with. As you get older, you're right. You get kind of stuck in your family, and you don't go out as much, things like that. And Jonaside, we know Jonaside, we know, but we'll say he's going to make me say this every show for the rest of my life, aren't you, Jonaside? And he writes, David Wilcock would look so cool with a mustache and be more believable too. And Walter Bosley wants a handlebar stash. Yeah, think of where the letter of the alphabet clowns come from. The likes of 8kun, 8chan. These people are some of the 6 people on Earth. The majority of the posts are disgusting. Yeah, I never liked either of those sites. MK3 Mixes says the older I get, the more intolerant of people I get. Yeah, I feel exactly the same way. I don't have patience, right? But Matt is right. It's really hard to find good friends the older that you get. I lucked out. I'd say my best friend is this guy, Matt, who is my closest neighbor at the cabin. And that guy just became my friend, like great friend by default, because he's just an amazing guy. We met because he saw me struggling to try to build a shed when I first got the cabin, and I was doing a terrible job and my tools were all crappy. And he comes over like, hi, I'm your neighbor. What are you trying to build here? And I said, a shed. And he goes, are you just using hammer and nails? And I go, yeah. He goes, oh, you don't want to do that. I'll be right back. And he came over with like a tool belt and an air compressor and all these like expensive power tools. And he put up a whole wall of the shed. And yeah, so I got lucky and met a great friend, and he's helped me with a bunch of stuff, and we like a lot of the same things, and we hang out and drink beer, and he's a good friend, and I'm blessed that I met him. If I would have known that I would get such a good friend out of that cabin, I would have paid twice as much as I did for that little plot of land. Yeah, I hear that. Sather still pushes the letter B, slightly, but nonetheless still pushing it. Yeah, he doesn't want to give it up completely. He wants to still keep one foot in there to keep the followers happy, I would assume, right? MK3 Mexa says, I have a cat. She don't talk back, but it's the best buddy I ever had. I feel that way. I got a little Yorkie, a little toy Yorkie, and his name's Baxter. It's my Baxter buddy. He's the best dog that I believe I ever had. Cheryl J is here. I grew up as an only child, English and French Canadian town. I was a sad sight playing badminton by myself. Oh, I'm sorry to hear that. I'll play badminton with you, Cheryl J. And by the way, I don't believe that I've seen you here before, but you are most welcome. I love seeing new faces in the live chat. Yo, I just watched Ingenuity photos from Mars. Where the F are those pyramids? Yeah, imagine that. There's no pyramids. It was all fake. Yeah. So, who was the researcher with the face on Mars? Richard Hoagland. Boy, Richard Hoagland pushed those pyramids and that face on Mars for 20 years. Turns out there's nothing there. Turns out there's absolutely nothing there. Absolutely nothing there. Sand and rocks, natural formations. I never, I was very fascinated by the face on Mars when I first saw it. But after the new satellite images came out of what was actually there, it was more than a bit of a disappointment. So I've never really And Richard Hoagland, he runs in circles and does the same kind of David Wilcox shuffle. Like, well, this measurement is this much, and this measurement is this much. So that's sacred geometry. It's got to be made by people. No, I won't believe Richard Hoagland until I see him doing a broadcast from the Martian pyramids, right, with high definition cameras and showing us that it's really a pyramid. I won't until that time comes. Richard Hoagland, shut up. It's not real. There's nothing there. Well, friends, I want to thank each and every one of you for joining us. It's important that you do, please do like, comment, and share these videos. It really does help us to get a bigger bullhorn. I want to thank each and every one of you for joining us tonight. And I want to thank everybody that I've talked to in the past week to source this story so well. I was kind of just, sometimes when you go and you make all these phone calls, nobody gets back to you, or if somebody does, they're in a rush and they don't really want to help you. They just want to get you off their list of things that they have to answer for or do. But this investigation went incredibly different, and people were very kind and forthcoming with me. Everywhere I called, somebody got back to me and got me the information that I needed in order to make this report possible. So thanks to them, thanks to you audience members. I want to thank all the people who have become a Patreon supporter or send a super chat or a PayPal donation. This is a viewer supported show, and you make it go. Always happy when there's an audience, friends, and we had incredible numbers tonight, actually. I want to thank each and every one of you for joining us. Always glad when there's an audience, and I'm pleased, delighted, and excited that you could come here tonight and be a part of mine. Until next time, friends, my name is Stephen Cambion. Good night, and God bless all of you, especially Mark McCandlish. May he rest in peace.